Hi guys, welcome back. I am going to now show you how to use white paper and crayons to make a recreation of Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night. Not everyone has all the materials, so this is my third Vincent van Gogh Starry Night recreation. This time I'm using white paper and crayons, but I also did oil pastels and tempera paints. Use whatever you have, be creative. If you want to mix all of them together, that's fine. Just make sure you have your parents' permission because most of the things that I do are messy. I also suggest using a placemat for all of your artwork. I don't have a placemat here, and I have a mess. But I am responsible, and I'm going to clean up my mess, and it's an art studio. When I'm at home with my kids, we do not have this kind of mess. I make sure that we put a placemat down. You can use something like an old newspaper, scraps of paper, even a brown paper bag from the grocery store. You can use old wrapping paper, just something to protect the surface of whatever table or desktop you're using at home. So let's look at the Vincent van Gogh Starry Night. It is a very famous painting, and it's one of my favorites. For those of you who have been in my art studio at school, you will recognize this as it has been painted on my back wall since 2013. I love looking at it every day. So first thing we're going to do is, I always like to start with this bush in the foreground and then move on to the moon. That's my, because I've obviously drawn this a lot. That's my step. That's how I progress. So that's how I'm going to do it. But when we look at this bush here, it's almost like a triangle, but with wavy or curvy lines. So that's what I'm going to do first. I have my paper. They're both horizontal, which means they're wide side to side because that's how the painting is. So horizontal is wide side to side. And then vertical, if I ever ask you to do your paper vertical, it's going to be tall because it's vertical tall. Okay. There's also portrait and landscape. Landscape is this way because this is a beautiful landscape. Landscape is a picture done outside. And then portrait is vertical because people are tall. So anyways, horizontal or landscape is how I'm going to start. And in the bottom left is where I start my cypress bush. Okay, so, and if you want to draw really, really lightly, that would be okay. So like I said, it was almost like a triangle. I did that really, really lightly. And then I'm going to make the curved lines. Now, your curved lines do not need to be exactly like Van Gogh's. In fact, I don't want them to be exactly like his. I want them to be like yours. It also looks kind of like a flame, right? So, but that's for another time. So I have my cypress in the bottom left. Now I'm going to do my crescent moon in the top right. And to draw that, I like to draw a C and then draw a smaller C in the middle, and boom, there it is. Now I'm going to draw my horizon line. The horizon line tells me that everything below the horizon line is land, and everything above it is going to be the sky. So my horizon line, though, is behind my bush. This gets a little tricky, but I'm going to start over on my left side, draw a line over, and as soon as I bump into that bush, I'm going to stop, jump over the bush, and continue my horizon line all the way to the edge. Cool? Looks like there might be a little bit of a horizon line right there if you want to. There. Now, let's see. I'm going to do some stars. So, you see these stars here? They're basically circles with circles around them, almost like a bullseye. I'm going to go ahead and just do the stars, though. And again, your stars do not need to be exactly where Van Gogh has his stars. But, great. Now I'm going to, sorry if I'm going too fast, but you can stop then, pause, rewind, whenever. I'm going to turn my paper this way and look at these swirl lines. To me, this looks like an S, and this looks like a longer, larger S. That's how I'm going to draw the swirly, starry, windy night. I'm going to sort of start somewhere between the moon and the cypress, but a little bit closer to the cypress for my smaller swirl S, and then my longer swirl S, the bottom of my S starts at the top of my other one. And again, when I get to that cypress, don't run over the cypress, jump over it and finish there. Now you go ahead, and this is a great base to start now with the Van Gogh stuff, like the Van Gogh strokes and colors. Down here, he has sort of a city. If you want to draw some buildings, if you want to leave it plain, that's fine, but I am going to draw a couple buildings. So I'm going to draw what shape is that? Good, a rectangle. And so this is a tall building. What should my roof shape be? Okay, so I'm going to draw a triangle, and then I'm going to draw just another little building, and maybe one over here. Great. Cool. Now I'm going to get some colors going. I'm going to use yellow, and I'm going to start working on the moon and the stars by drawing two or three circles actually, around each. Sort of like a bullseye. Perfect. Okay, now I'm going to color in my stars and my moon. Great. And I'm going to do what's called a broken line, or Van Gogh's strokes, with yellow and blue around those bullseye circles that I just drew. So it's a broken line, or a dash. Some people call it a dash, and some people call it a broken line. Okay, and then I'm also going to do it with yellow. Okay, I'm going to keep doing that, and then I'll check back in. All right, great job. Now we're going to do the dashed strokes along the windy swirl line. And for that, I recommend using as many different blues as you can find. I might even use a little bit of this gray. But you're going to do the same thing. You're going to sort of trace around that swirl line with a dashed or broken line. You're going to do that with all of the blues you can find. Great, perfect. Now I'm going to work on the bush here, which is a cypress bush. You can use greens and or browns. So I'm going to do the Van Gogh stroke, sort of going and keeping in line with moving up towards the point here, or sort of mimicking the outside line. Oh boy. I don't think I want to actually add the brown. I changed my mind. Just going to do the green. Okay, and then For the buildings, you can color the buildings whatever color you want. Van Gogh typically had his sort of a gray, so I might do a little bit of gray and a little bit of blue. A little bit of brown on this one. Okay, now for the grass, I'm going to use mostly brown, but also a little bit of green. And I'm going to pretend like there's a hill right here in the corner, just because. Okay, and then follow the horizon line underneath. Now you can keep adding these strokes. The more strokes you add, the more it'll look like Van Gogh's. However, I'm going to leave it like this, and this could totally be considered done. However, if you have watercolors at home, watercolor paints, this could be fun to do a crayon resist. So I'm going to leave it how it is for this, but after I'm done recording, I'm going to paint over it with my watercolor paints, and I will show you an image or a final picture of it. If this is the one that you chose to do, the crayon on paper, please make sure you take a photo and you either upload that photo to Schoology or you show me the actual finished project in our bi-weekly Google Meets. Also, make sure that you use some sort of little piece of paper that has your first name and last name written on it, and your class code, and just sort of place it on the corner of your image somewhere before you take the picture so I know whose it is. And see you later.